Hey there guys, EctoMaster here. We're back in Heroes of the Storm. Of course it's Tuesday, so it's Heroes of the Storm Day. And we're going to be taking another look at another hero spotlight today. Yes, that's right, we have done two for this week. We've done Johanna and Sgt Hammer. Now the reason why I did two is because Johanna came out last week and I wanted to get, something out on her. I don't want to wait until I randomly chose her. So I figured I would do that and Sgt Hammer all in one week. So that way we can pick our next one from next week with Sgt Hammer and move on from there. With that being said, we're going to take a look at her skins, her abilities, and her talents, as well as a pushing build right from HeroesNexus.com. It is called Sgt Hammer's Freedom Delivery Service by BR15K, or I guess he goes by Brisk. Anyways, if you're new to Hero Spotlight, this is what I do. I randomly select one of the heroes that I have, and then we take a look at as I said, their skins, their abilities, their talents, and a build while we're looking at their talents. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at Sgt Hammer's skins. So, of course, this is her base skin. She's only got two other modes, the Master skin and then this Epic skin. So this is her basic look, and level 7 you get that, and then level 8 or 9 you get that. At a level 10, if you get 10,000 gold, you can get her Master skin, which is pretty bad looking. That's really awesome, I like that. And then if you want to pay $9.99, you can unlock War World Sgt Hammer. Basically kind of looks like a World War II-esque tank. So let's go back to the basic because I don't have the others anyways. So let's look at her abilities. We'll take a look at those. Now, her Q, W, and E are as follows. Spider Mines. It's a 50-second, it costs 50 mana with a 14-second cooldown. You create 3 mines that deal X damage and slow enemies by 25% for 1.5 seconds. Now these numbers that we see on screen and that I may quote are the base numbers. These are not the numbers at end game or anything like that, where of course, much like whose line is it anyway, the point values don't matter, as they just kind of are made up as it goes along. Concussive Blast is the W ability. It costs 75 mana with a 12-second cooldown. It deals X damage and pushes enemies away. Siege Mode is the E. 40 mana with a 5-second cooldown. You become immobile to increase basic attack range by 90%, deal 25% splash damage, and deal 30% bonus damage to minions and structures. So basically, it's Siege Mode from StarCraft 2. Now her trait is Artillery. Deal more damage to enemies that are far away. So the further away they are, the more damage she can do, which makes Siege Mode even better. Now she does have, just like everybody else, 2 heroic abilities, and these are the 2, Blunt Force Gun and Napalm Strike. Now Blunt Force Gun costs 100 mana, has a 70-second cooldown. You fire a missile across the battlefield, dealing X damage to enemies in its path. And Napalm Strike costs 35 mana, has a 6-second cooldown. It deals 40 damage on impact, leaves a napalm area that deals 30 damage per second, and lasts for 4 seconds. So let's go ahead and take a look at her talents, and as I said, we'll take a look at that build while we're doing it. So level 1, you have 5 that you can choose from, and Regeneration Master. Again, we saw that earlier today with Johanna, so we're going to skip that. I mean, you can see it on screen. If you really want to read it, pause it. But her abilities, you can get Advanced Artillery, which would increase the trait, increase the damage bonus to long-distance enemies by 10%. Lethal Blast, which will increase the damage by Concussive Blast by 50%. Resistant, while in Siege Mode, the duration of silences, stuns, slows, and roots are reduced by 75%. Ambush, stealth when entering Siege Mode. Your next basic attack will deal 100% more damage. Now for this build, I've been doing this ever since I've been saying build. This build for Sgt Hammer, they recommend Advanced Artillery, so one right at the top, increasing, the increased range, of course. I mean, what else are you going to call it? Anyways, moving on. Now, for level 4, you have Vampiric Assault, which is one that we see with others. I think Focused Attack as well we see with others. So the two that are kind of different are Maelstrom Shells and Excessive Force. Now, Maelstrom Shells increases standard basic attack range by 20%. And Excessive Force double the knockback distance of, well, Concussive Blast. Duh. Now for this, they do recommend getting a Maelstrom Shells for this build. At level 7, you have 3 that you can choose from. Slowing Mines increase the slow amount and duration, so the movement speed slow of spider mines to 40% and the duration of them to 2 seconds, or the duration of the slow for 2 seconds. Hypercooling Engines reduce the cooldown of thrusters by 10 seconds. Thrusters are always active while at the altar. So this is for your movements. She doesn't have a mount, she has thrusters. So she moves faster using that, but just for a short period. Mainly, so this would just decrease that by 10 seconds, the cooldown on it. Now, First Aid. Activate to heal 35% of your max health over 6 seconds. Reason why I talked about it? Guess what they recommend? First Aid. Level 10, you get the heroic abilities, and strangely, typically, I see a lot of people go for heroic ability Blunt Force Gun. But for this, they say to take Napalm Strike. At level 13, Giant Killer is one we see quite often with others, so I'm not going to talk about it. So we'll talk about First Strike. Basic attacks deal 25% more damage if you haven't been attacked within the last 5 seconds. Very key. Bullhead Mine's middle spider mine knocks target back a short distance. And Barricade, create a wall of path-blocking debris for 4 seconds. For this build, they recommend First Strike. Level 16, you do have 5 to choose from. Executioner is one we see quite often, as well as Stone Skin, so we'll look at the 3 others. Minefield increases the number of mines by 2. Hover Siege Mode, you can now move at 50% movement speed in Siege Mode. Graduating Range, while in Siege Mode, your standard basic attack range increases by 20% every 3 seconds, up to 100%. And that's the one for this build that they recommend to get. At level 20, Fury of the Storm and Nexus Frenzy are ones that we see quite often, but I'm going to talk about Nexus Frenzy because guess what they recommend? It basically increases your attack speed by 20% and attack range by 20% as well. Now, if you wanted to go away from the build and maybe focus on your heroic build instead, if you're stuck with the build up to this point, then you want to try Advanced Lava Strike, Napalm Strike's range is increased by 75% and its impact does 50% more damage. Now, if you really deviated from the build and decided to go with the big gun here, Orbital BFG, Blunt Force Gun's missile orbits the planet every 5 seconds. Only the last missile fired orbits. So, there you go. It just kind of goes around the map. Wouldn't that just be fun? So there you have it, guys. That is Sgt Hammer. A look at her. Now, the other thing that this build did include, or this person with it, it did put who it was strong against and who it was weak against. So everybody that I don't mention in the strong or the weak is pretty much neutral to. But it is strong against Jaina, Kael'thas, Malfurion, Murky, Sonya, Sylvanas, the Lost Vikings, Tychus, Uther, and Vala. But it is weak against Anubarak, Asmodan, Illidan, Nova, Stitches, Tassadar, Thrall, and Zeratul. Everybody else, it's kind of neutral with. So there you have it, guys. That is Sgt Hammer. While we're here, it's time to take a look at the D12 that I'm going to be rolling on my phone, because I don't own a D12. Anyways, we're going to roll a D12. We're going to see who our next Hero of the Storm Hero Spotlight is going to feature. And it is going to be one I haven't played a whole lot of. At all. Tassadar. So, Tassadar being a range support, we're going to be checking him out in the next episode of Hero Spotlight. So until then, I will see you guys in the next round.